Everything I'm doing here, the thoughts I'm sharing and perspectives I'm airing are not mine. They are all yours. After all, you are another me. Let's break it down metaphysically. Imagine you are locked in a room that is akin to a tomb. It is dark and there are things strewn here and there. The only thing that keep you sane, numb the pain, and provide some kind of distraction is a top-of-the-range set of VR goggles. Total immersion, once connected. You are jacked into a system that allows you freedom within its limits. In that respect, it's better than the alternative, and thus, if someone should come a-knocking, rapping on your chamber door, you may be a tad irritated at the immersion breaking that's happening. Let's pretend that the person doing this is quite persistent and simply won't quit, no matter how much you yelled at him to kick rocks. Factually, a quick revision. That's what most people would have done, but you're different. You actually wonder about the nature of this premise, and were just sitting in the darkness, feeling the objects and trying to make sense of the predicament. When the knock came, you were surprised, as this had never happened before, as you were born and bred in total isolation. There are many things about this situation that you don't get, and this is why you disconnected, because in the VR space, nobody seems to mention this. They are all so caught up in the illusion of the fake life they're living, and thus the omission of the fact is most interesting. At times you try to spark up a conversation about the cell and the darkness as well as the whole meaning of this, and you are either met with blank stares, derision, or aggression for reminding the denizens of what they're escaping. Who is it? You ask, as you edge your way to the location from where the sound is coming. Me. I mean you. Actually, we, comes the voice, and then starts giggling happily. Is it really dark in there? I mean, pitch black, can't see a thing? Are you also surrounded by objects that you can't make any sense of? Plus, let's not forget the VR headset. Was your cell like mine? He says. Intrigued, you pick up the pace and nod your head in the darkness. Yes, exactly like this. Who are you? From whence you came? What is the reason for this visit? Oh, where are my manners? You must excuse me. I don't think I've ever had any visitors. At least, none that I can recollect. Chill, he says, as you feel a palpable sensation of relaxation come over your presence. Actually, better yet, melt instead. Your spine tingles as a vibration runs through your flesh that enlivens your senses. Don't you think it's odd that we're all stacked up like this? Almost everyone you see in the VR realm is cooped up inside this real-world construction. In that sense, it's the springboard to the virtual, but no one seems to question, mention, or inspect the variables. I did. I found myself disconnecting more and more from the madness and distraction and choosing instead to become acclimatized to my isolation. Tell me, did you spot a thing which was around about the size of your fist and shakes when you rattle it inside your cell? Yes, I did. I placed it at the back. Shall I go get it? Sure, in a moment. Did you also have this stick that felt like a crayon but was super thick? You mean it wasn't? Well, what is it then? Do me a favor. Go and pick up both of them and we'll try an experiment. You make your way over to these objects you've been examining in the darkness, and thanking your organization, you pick them up and head back to the entrance. Okay, now what? Take that box and feel around its edges. There should be one part that is very, very subtly indented. It's almost like a groove that marks one corner from the rest. Let me know when you get it. You fumble around in the darkness and feel your tongue poking out in concentration till you grin in elation at spotting something that was hidden but now self-evident. I've got it. Great. Crouch down and bash that corner on the cement floor of your cell, and what was rattling within will come pouring. Tell me what it is. You do as instructed and feel a sense of anticipation build at cracking the code of the box. Then it clicks. Matches. These are definitely matches, you said, as you raise one up in the darkness and sniff the head as well as taking the texture in. You don't notice, in the moment, exactly how it was you knew this, but you are quietly certain that your limited perception was accurate. Perfect. Take that crayon in one hand and strike the match on the ground to light it and tell me what happens. The tiny spark feels like the most intense illumination you could ever imagine, and via the new information you find in your grips a candle that you light quickly. An intense feeling of happiness sweeps over your awareness as you, for the first time, take in your surroundings and feel like the embodiment of a higher state of consciousness. Where in the hell am I? You say out loud, mainly to yourself as you take the scene in. The voice on the other side of the door is laughing. A trip, isn't it? I can't believe this, you said, as the true nature of the environment you're in becomes more and more obvious, as the objects that were scattered within are all for your betterment, but that was up to you to fig. No wonder they threw in those dark light VR specs that directly modulate your consciousness. It was to keep this, what is so obvious, hidden. How did you figure this out, my friend? Thanks for bringing it to my attention, and how the hell do I get out of this cell? And what is the true nature of this building and the intent of the architect who made it? That's for you to discover. Is there a combination panel on the wall of your cell? He asks, as you spot the presence. Yes, there is. Do you have the key? You question, keen to get things moving after spending most of your life sitting still and being entirely unaware of the variables. No, that's for you to find. All I can say is this: the numbers you punch in are personally significant, and each one unlocks an event that brings more energetics. If we all have the same equipment, there should be a notepad and 2 pens, one in red and the other black ink as well. The light from the candle once lit is eternal, so that's of no concern. But what I did was take those writing instruments in each fist and start asking myself questions and then noting the responses. At first it seemed ridiculous, but then it became intuitive, and that is how I wandered out, by wandering within, and that's how we met. Fascinating, you think, as you are still busy processing and taking it all in. In the course of a few moments, your entire world has been flipped, and that just seems like the hint of a much larger riddle or problem to be fixed. No wonder VR Land was so dissatisfying. Actually, that's why I knocked on your cell. See, I was hotting to the exit whilst banging and yelling for the attention of anyone who'd listen, but they were all plugged in. None of them wanted to listen, and when I walked past this pitch, I felt that it might be different. I guess that's why they call it intuition, as it's the exact opposite of the VR specs, which manipulate your senses by providing the answers to questions no one ever asked, then totally beguiling the true reason you're even connected, as an escape from such a strange predicament. I see. So how on earth did you figure this, you ask, genuinely curious? Well, for as long as I can recollect, I've been reality testing. I always found it was super odd that those in the simulation went out of their way to remain ignorant about the true situation, and thus I picked at the loose threads and generally made a nuisance out of myself because I needed answers. I mean, when life is tragic, the need for fantasy is immense. Therefore, those who are invested in the tricks will see the truth as a rude awakening, as they prefer to stay dreaming than face the nightmare of the actual trip. You nod your head in agreement with this perspective, because whilst you never pushed the limits like this, you did think such things and found the code of silence surrounding it quite interesting. The voice continues. One day I decided, on a total whim, to break my goggles. The idea was to see what happened. You know, if we're monitored in the cells by whoever provides access to the simulation. The idea was to make them come to me via tomfoolery. The very concept caused immense amounts of stress and what-ifery inside my head, because then it would just be eternal darkness. So instead of smashing them off the ground, I decided to take that rattling object and bash out one lens. The right one, to be accurate. Smart, you think, as you nod your head in surprise at how quickly you're adapting to this new field of information. Be water, my friend, the voice says, and you are sure you can hear him grin. Anyway, I picked up the box, arranged the specs, and set to bashing it with the corner of the handheld object when, suddenly, all of the hidden sources of illumination did spill. The rest of the story tells itself, but I've got to keep on stepping, and you'll have to figure out the rest as and when. By the way, I've noticed a pattern. If you knock on 10 cells, then 8 will not want to hear it. More than one will try and get you back into the place you just left by using all types of coercion and threats, as well as appeals to your reason. Only one will be willing to reality test, and those souls will already have a maladjustment to the VR terrain and usually have lots of questions about the nature of the game we're playing, as well as its implications. Amazing, you think, before the voice says, I have one request. Sure, certainly, anything I can do to help. On your way to the exit, knock on as many cells as you can and see if my pattern is accurate. As far as I can tell, 81% are overly enamored with their imprisonment. 11% seem to be the same that steer VR conversations in certain directions and thus must be complicit, and only 8% are willing to question their investment in the illusion in exchange for freedom. Each one teach one, he said, and you clicked what he meant by his cryptic greeting as you feel your consciousness spin to an entirely new level of performance and resonance. Wait, can't you stay? Just a few more conversations. I have so many questions and want to find the exit. Won't we work better as a team? As far as I can tell, this is a solo sport. You're the first one to answer the calling, and if we both stand here talking, neither may progress because the skills you develop in this predicament will enliven your intuition, and that is what is needed to assist in the navigation, because what's outside of this cell is beyond imagining. Till we meet again, he says, as you hear footsteps recede into the distance, interspersed with an occasional banging on a door to ask a question, which is usually answered by an anguished yell from those who don't wish to be reminded they're dwelling in a cell 2 bus stops from hell. Do you see what I mean with my initial statement? Those aren't my matches, nor candle, cell as well as the rest of the tale. All of that is you and yours. I simply introduce some information, and thus what was gifted to me, I present to you, as gnosis is one of those things that the more you give away, the richer everyone gets. But not all stomachs are capable of digesting it, as many prefer to be plugged into the game where they've inserted their soul as a credit, whilst remaining entirely ignorant of that which is within the flesh, or what happens when they take off the specs and allow what was boxed in the waste, with the implicit command to waste, to freely circulate as their vertebrae resonate, because the fuse is now lit, and thus the glow of inner sense reigns within, and transcends the virtual madness to find genuine progress. But even that is just where it begins, because only you can liberate yourself from the mind-made prison, and this is why I say none of this is mine. It's all yours, my friend, and in that respect, you have the same obligation to shine in the darkness, to become the difference that makes a difference for those seeking the answers to the riddles of existence. Till we meet again.